Important thing to me about making films is that you tell a story that no one else can tell, because otherwise what's the point? Like, I kind of feel like a fly on the wall in this YouTube world. I've come from the outside of it. I come from and nothing to do with film and nothing to do with like wealth of any sort or anything like that, and so or celebrity. So I step into this YouTube world and I'm like, this is fascinating. Like, these are...
I bet it's whiplash though.
Yeah, it's like these fascinating characters that are all ultimately normal kids that have started making videos in their bedroom, and just it happened to the spotlight turned on them and they became famous. So they're all normal deep down, so I relate to them on that level. And
a fundamental level.
Yeah, and so hanging out, I get it, but I don't get the fame at the time, and I'm like, this is really interesting. And I have access to it. I can go and talk to them and ask them stuff.
And so that you're saying that kind of gave birth to the documentary idea, where you can show a different lens in which you don't.
Yeah, so it's people. I think that's the most important thing to me about making films, is that you tell a story that no one else can tell, because otherwise, what's the point? Like, if someone else can go and do that same thing, then just go find something else. Because, like you mentioned at the start, I made a little documentary when I was at BBH, so I was probably 18. Crowdfunded this little documentary about my mom's experience of cancer called Mom's the Word. It was based off the idea that she'd been through breast cancer, and that it was a 3 or 4 year process, and then we hadn't really spoken about it at the time because you just didn't. You just kind of got on with life. And then afterwards, I kind of sat back and was like, we didn't speak about any of that, so why didn't we? And let's explore that a bit more, and made this little documentary piece. And
so the documentary is kind of a conduit also, just to be able to talk.
Yeah, it's it made it happen. And I'd always been interested in documentary, and that's something. My mum, I'm the only person who has access to that viewpoint on my mum. No one else has that. And so similarly, I'm looking at this KSI fight, and I'm like, no one has this sort of outsider-insider perspective on this fight. So let's. And I know the wider world will be absolutely bemused when this gets announced that it's happening.
Yeah.
So let's try and explain it and why it's happening and what's going on and what's going through his head. And this guy is KSI is the most fascinating character. He's a normal guy, but the volume's turned up to 100. So everyone's listening to him and everyone listens to what he says, and where he goes, the world goes. Yeah. So I'm like, if he's going boxing, the world's going boxing. So let's document this.
It sounds like a Steve Jobs reality distortion field kind of thing. It's just he has so much charisma.
Yeah,
it's just its own gravitational pull.
Yeah, just if he says that that's the thing, that's the thing. That.